This video is brought to you in association with Funded Today. Funded Today helps you get more pledges for your Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaign with professional video and design. Links are in the video description below. Thank you. Let's get on with the show. Talk Funding Deep Dive. Today, we're with the lovely Siouxie from the Awesome Gummy Bears company. Hello, Siouxie.
Hi. Thanks, Alan.
So in this deep dive, I thought we could maybe just scroll down your full of information page, Siouxie. Maybe we'll just go down to this first section, which is really about your story.
Yeah.
What is this about some people like to bake?
Well, some people like to bake, and I make gummy bears. The thing is as you can imagine, 2020, a lot of people were at home. So I've been making gummy bears for the last couple of years. My husband and I actually travel extensively. So we would be home maybe for a week or maybe even just for a weekend. And sometimes we wouldn't be home for weeks at all. So when we would come home to unwind, I would make gummy bears. And it was this thing that I was just kind of randomly doing over time. And so we started making them more, obviously, because I was home. And when I kept making them, my husband suggested one day, he said, you know, these are really good. Why don't we bring them to market? And I was like, gummy bears? I don't even know how to do that. That's crazy. And he was like, yeah, but it turns out it's a pretty big business and there isn't a lot of competition. And I was already the reason I was making my own gummy bears is so that I could control the ingredients. I didn't like the ingredients that were available in commercial gummy bears. So that was kind of what started me on this journey. And
wow. I wish I was in your family bubble last year whenever you were producing all these gummy bears.
Yeah, but to be fair, I have to say something funny about that. So because I've been sugar-free for a really long time, I use stevia, and I hated the taste in the beginning, and then I've trained my palate to be okay with it. So my poor daughter, my oldest daughter, she was my guinea pig on some of the early ones, and she hates the taste of natural sweeteners. So for her, I was like, here, taste these. I don't care if you don't like the flavor. I just want to know if we got the texture right. And she would be like, yeah, the texture's really good. The flavor's still weird. I'm like, no, I get it. Okay. So I had to keep working on it. But in the early days, it wasn't always awesome, although she loves it now, being our taster.
And that was going back to your story, which you brought up in the main interview, is that really these awesome gummy bears were born in your kitchen, and you were really experimenting and finding what worked and what didn't work. That's a lovely story. Will we scroll down a wee bit further, Siouxie?
Yeah.
Maybe here's talking about ingredients. Would this be a good thing to talk about here?
Well, the thing is that right now, the main thing for me is that there's a couple of options. You have sugar-free gummy bears that are made with sugar alcohols. The problem with sugar alcohols is most people's digestive system doesn't handle them amazing. So they usually come with sometimes explosive side effects. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I don't know if anybody wants to experience that, especially if you're getting ready to go on a flight or snacking on a car trip or a road trip with friends, that kind of thing. So you have that option. And then the other option you have are these organic sugar gummy candies. And if you look at that picture there, what happened was we were talking to a friend of ours, and she told us about a brand of organic gummies that she puts in her kids' lunch boxes. They come in tiny little bags, and there's only like 8 of them. And I said, well, how much sugar's in it? And she's like, I don't know. Well, it had 11 grams of sugar. I said, do you know what 11 grams of sugar looks like? She said, no, not really. And I was like, okay, it's 2.5 teaspoons. She was horrified that she's been giving her kids 2.5 teaspoons of sugar every single day in their lunchbox. Like, who would do that? Like, who would send their kids intentionally with that much sugar? So she didn't even know. And I really wanted to create an alternative. So this market doesn't exist. And then there's also low sugar ones, but it's very sketchy.
Fascinating. And then I love this, as you said, the organic sugar gummy candles, one serving, and it's 11 to 14 grams of sugar, but your one serving of 25 gummy bears, so that's nearly 3 times the amount of gummy bears, but 0 sugar. in it.
Yeah. Our sugars. So I do want to, can I talk for a second about that, Alan? Is that
Yes,
okay?
please do. Yeah.
So the sweeteners that we chose for this, as I said earlier, the aftertaste is a problem when most people are trying to go sugar-free, or sugar alcohols, which don't always have the aftertaste, come with different side effects. One of the other sugar alcohols is called xylitol. Xylitol is fatal to dogs, even in the smallest amount. So for me, I really wanted a product that was family friendly, that didn't have an aftertaste and didn't come with the digestive disaster situation. So I stumbled across, while I was doing my research, on a sweetener called allulose. Now, allulose is actually a rare sugar. It's actually a monosaccharide, and it is a sugar, but it has zero impact. It's actually passed through the urine with zero impact. And there's even studies that indicate that there are some metabolic benefits, like it actually helped to reduce insulin response in people when they ate it with meals that had carbohydrates. So it's a pretty awesome little sweetener. And then the other one is monk fruit, which is already considered very much suitable for diabetics. And it can have an aftertaste, but there's a little science behind it. But we found that allulose together with monk fruit is really close to sugar. And but zero impact. Both of them have absolutely zero impact on blood glucose response. I tested it myself as we were making these. I tested both my blood ketones for the ketogenic aspect, and also my glucose actual levels. And in both cases, zero impact from my gummy bears, even eating a full 25 gummy bears, like no spike at all, really, after 2 hours. Kind of amazing. Anyway, so I felt like we were onto something. I wanted something that would be suitable for diabetics and suitable for anybody who can't have sugar, really.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that, Susie.
Yeah.
We'll scroll down a little bit further. I thought this was a really interesting aspect, the guilt-free ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to create a product. Okay, so this is not just a sugar-free product. Like, some people were like, oh, you need to make it more wholesome and make the whole packaging green. And I'm like, look, I'm not looking for the health seekers. I'm looking for the people that are desperate to eat candy, but shouldn't have sugar. Like, there is definitely a market where people love candy, and especially gummy candies, where they want to eat them, and they want to eat a lot of them. They don't want to only eat 8 and then worry that they're going to have a digestive nightmare or that their blood sugar is going to spike. So for us, we wanted to create a product that was guilt-free. And that's really, truly what this ended up becoming for us. And one serving is approximately 25 gummy bears, which is kind of awesome. And then it's also diet friendly. So people who are doing Weight Watchers, an entire bag is 1 Weight Watcher point. That's awesome just by itself.
That is really informative. So 1 bag of your gummy bears is 1 Weight Watcher point.
Yeah, our entire serving, which is 25 gummy bears. Honestly, even I wouldn't eat 25 gummy bears, but if you wanted to, go ahead, eat the whole bag. That's part of our promo on it. Like, you don't have to feel guilty about it because you won't have a negative impact. There's only 60 calories in that entire serving, and there's 1 gram of net carbs. But the fiber that we're also using is kind of awesome and has its own amazing studies that have been done on its impact on insulin. So we have 3 ingredients that are, I would say, insulin friendly, that help with metabolizing insulin and help with balancing sugar. So we can truly say that it's suitable for diabetics and for keto people. And we actually cross-checked that with an FDA attorney that specializes in diabetic and health-related claims. And they said, yeah, you can totally say that based on your ingredients. And we were like, yes.
And this is a very clear and concise label here. Is this part of your marketing campaign, or is this actually part of a packaging?
That will be close to the back of our bags. So obviously we haven't done our production run yet. So all of these are mock-ups based on what the design will end up looking like in the final packaging. Just one thing that I don't think most people realize about gummy bears. So when we're making them, they have to be made in a really, really huge volume, like huge. Normally people are making gummy bears with sugar alcohols, and it's like costs them pennies to make it and to do a giant run, and it's not such a big deal. In our case, we're using ingredients that have never been used before in a manufacturing process. So it's a little bit more complicated. We had to do scaling up bench top testing first to make sure that we could actually do this. It took us a really long time to create a formula that acts like a gummy bear, tastes like a gummy bear, and looks like a gummy bear. Like, to create something for real that's like got that chew and that flex and that's like amazing was a challenge for us. So I think our first 45 iterations of the gummy bears with that fiber were difficult. I mean, I'll tell you one thing behind it, and this is like a little bit of the backstory, and then you can decide what to do with it. So there's another big competitor in our industry that has that was supposed to be very low net carbs, and I used some of the ingredients that were on their label to help formulate my DIY at-home gummy bears, right? So when my husband and I had the conversation about bringing them to market, it wasn't such a big deal because there was a syrup base that was called IMO, and it's a tapioca syrup, right? And it was supposed to be a prebiotic fiber that has zero impact on your digestive system. Well, my husband said that he read this article that the FDA said it's absolutely not a fiber and it reacts to the body the same as a carbohydrate. And I was stunned because this is the base ingredient. So when you're making a gummy bear, gummy bears have very, very specific components, and it's sugar, a sugar syrup mass, gelatin, and then you've got your flavors, right? And all of those together make what you know as a chewy, delicious gummy bear. So when we started, we thought that this IMO syrup, which is what we were also using as a base, was keto friendly and no impact, blah, blah, blah. And then we found out that it actually has the same impact as straight glucose on blood glucose responses. Very much not diabetic safe or friendly in any capacity, and definitely not keto. So we had to reinvent the recipe from scratch. And that was really intense, and it was really difficult. And the first 45 batches were crap. Like we were like, I don't know how to make this without syrup. Of course, the recipe was great before because we were using essentially corn syrup, which is what's in real gummy bears, but it's called tapioca. And we thought it was supposed to be keto, and it wasn't. So we've created a truly keto product, but it was intense, and we had to learn all about gummy bears, and we spoke to specialists and food people in the food world that are very, very, very awesome and understand it. And then once we fully understood it, then we could sort of break the rules to make this.
I think that's fascinating what you just shared, Siouxsie, because it's really showing it's a journey that you're on, but it's also the standard, like the very high standard that you're working towards, that you want this product, this food product, which you're producing for your own family and with the intention of supplying other families with this really quality product. What the journey of understanding is my hat's off to you. So well done. Just one other ingredient that you mentioned just off camera regarding using ingredients from China. Could you say something about that, please?
Yeah, so one of the things, once we started sourcing ingredients, it's one thing to make something at home in your kitchen with the stuff you buy at the grocery store. But when you're actually going to create something, I can't buy that bottle of flavored stevia and have 10,000 bottles and go, here, make my gummy bears. Like, I had to reproduce everything, right? So in that we started sourcing different ingredients, and there are some ingredients that are very, very difficult to source outside of China. And for me, I've already been blogging about it for the last 5 years on the importance of sustainable living and a number of other things. And from an environmental standpoint and just historically speaking, I do know, for example, like that if a survey done to people who live in China, they will never ever buy any baby formula products that are formulated in China, like by their own admission, and there's a reason for that. So for me, I didn't want a food ingredient that was sourced from China. Now, the irony of that is monk fruit only grows in South China. So I was like, well, what do I do? I'm using monk fruit. So what we did was we did source a monk fruit from here within the United States. Obviously, it was grown in China, but it's third-party verified as organic. And that was really, really important to me because otherwise I can't talk about that part of it. I was like, no ingredients from China. Well, except for monk fruit, which only grows in China. And I don't know what to say about that. But we did the best that we can with every single ingredient to source it in a way that's awesome and to make sure that it is truly a clean ingredient.
I just love these different testimonials section of the campaign page. They're very, very positive, so it's fantastic. Do you want to say anything about those, or?
Yeah, so because of my palate being used to the aftertaste of stevia and other alternative sweeteners, I couldn't really trust myself to create a product that anybody would eat. You know, I have my grandson, he's 12. You saw him in the video, if you saw the video. And I'm always trying to feed him healthy and organic. And he's always like, oh, Ma, no, it's gross. Like, he's very, very candid with me about things if he's not going to eat them. So I wanted a gummy bear that my grandson would eat, that my friends' kids would eat, that my friends who are sugar hounds and know that they need to stop eating sugar would eat. And it was amazing. And with each of these people, we did taste tests. And the first taste test was like, oh, I can still taste that little weirdness. And I was like, okay. So we learned the science behind that. We got rid of that. So there isn't an aftertaste in our gummy bears. And then some of the other guys were like, it's not sweet enough. Well, I understand that. I don't have a super, super hardcore sweet tooth. So we had to amp up the sweetness. And, you know, so the whole adventure has been creating a gummy bear that everyone will love. And based on taste tests with hundreds of people, by the way, it seems pretty good. So.
Yeah, no, certainly I've watched some of the testimonial videos and everything. They are extremely positive, and they definitely taste tests pass 110%.
Yeah.
And this is just basically the size and packaging of your gummy bears.
Yeah, there may be some minor final tweaks on the bag itself. And I think the box is going to be whiter and a little bit cleaner and just have a small part that's blue. But it's going to be the same thing where there will be 12 bags, 12 of the 2-ounce bags in each box, so that it's a nice, decent little bit of goodness to get.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that, you know, the zero sugar, zero guilt is a great line. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. And I love these. Can I just go through the guilt-free gummy bears? You've got you've got the made in the USA, and it's the low calories. It was at 60.
Yeah,
and
60 calories.
You've got keto, non-GMO, no sugar, zero sugar, no chemical sweeteners, gluten-free.
That's right.
Organic, natural products, organic, natural colors. I mean, you know, I don't think there's any other boxes left to be ticked, really, Siouxsie.
Yeah, I tried to cover everything. I mean,
you certainly did.
And on the natural color, I want to say something that's kind of awesome about that. I went through a lot of iterations, and for those that were following me on social media were laughing because I was like really trying to perfect these colors, and sometimes our gummy bears would all be brown or sometimes a funky color green, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole science in itself, right? And we figured figured out how to make the gummy bears. They're vibrant, they're beautiful, and the colors that we're using, which I'm so excited about, they're not only organic natural colors, but they're actually extracted. That color is extracted with nothing but water and pressure. No chemicals. See, most people don't know that colors are usually extracted with chemicals or they're artificial, even if they're natural colors, which I find a little disturbing as a person, because you're eating it and you don't have to count the chemicals because it's so little. And I'm like, but they're still there. Anyway, so it's all natural colors from fruit and veg. So that for me was super exciting.
Oh, fantastic. And I
Yeah.
think at that point, I think we'll leave our deep dive with Siouxsie and the Awesome Gummy Bear Company. Thank you so much, Siouxsie. That was a fantastic deep dive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.